was like the Great Pyramid, over 2 million blocks of stone, and nobody realized that they're all different 2 million blocks. They're all, each individual stone is totally different from the other one, which means you can't make a cookie cutter and say, okay, we got these blocks ready, let's stack them up. Didn't quite work that way because they're all different. Now you have to take into consideration also the subterranean part of the Great Pyramid. The subterranean, like the subterranean shaft, which cuts through solid stone and goes down 65 meters, then another 30 meters down beneath that, which I've been down there. How in the world did they cut that through solid stones that were already stacked? Some type of a laser cutting tool. And if you look at the mud ramp theory, the floating theory is a farce. You can't float these stones. The second thing we'll look at would be the mud ramp theory.
The floating theory, really quick, is the idea was that the Nile ran right up against, I think, the pier. So they were taking the stones from the Aswan Valley, I'm pretty sure.
Some of the granite from Aswan and then some of the stones from not too far away.
The floating theory, I guess, makes sense in terms of a human's capability to move a heavy object.
Yeah, but you have to displace the mass.
Right.
What are you displacing mass with for that level of mass in water? Highly unlikely that they would be able to displace that much mass to keep them floating. Otherwise, they'd sink. I mean, you know, look at all the mafia movies. They just throw you in. You don't come back up. And you have a lot of air in your lungs too.
Yeah. What were they using? Oh, fuck. There's like a video of this. What were they using to keep them afloat?
I forget. Palm leaves or something. It was something ridiculous. It wasn't too bright.
It was on logs or something like that, maybe. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have that, but then also you have to take a look at the mud ramp theory, which is you need more mass in the Great Pyramid in mud to actually have the mud ramps. So now you have to move more mass than the 2 billion blocks to make the ramp. Again, didn't make any sense.
The ramp is how they were building the pyramid up in that way, so you need a ramp to bring the blocks up.
Right, right.
And then when you get on top, do they just slide down? Like, I'm so confused about how you finish that final stone.
It's a bad theory. It's a bad theory.
Well, I guess you could.
So once you start really analyzing the stones, the structures, the way that they're interlocked, you see there's an interlocking design system. And each stone is custom made to be put in place, which means it needs to be created at the moment that it's needed. How do you do that? How are you going to get this stone up this mud ramp or float it up into this area and then put it into a spot that it doesn't really fit? Oh, I made a mistake. It doesn't go here. Doesn't make any sense. The blueprint for the Great Pyramid, for example, was so sound, they had foreknowledge of exactly how to build it and why. And so you see that these stones were made and cut and put into place exactly, precisely when needed. It didn't take 20 years, in my opinion. It probably took maybe less than a year to build that pyramid.
Why? Why less than a year?
Well, if you look at the, I took my
I've been there. I've seen it.
Yeah, took my Geiger counter.
Yeah.
And you know, my compass and everything else, and you start to realize that this is so high tech. It's like throwing up a house in my neighborhood. It takes them 18 months to throw a house up.
Yeah.
You know, this is not one of those things where we're trying to figure it out as we go. This is something that has been done so many times.
Gotcha.
It's common knowledge.
So this is advanced planning. They had the the logistics and the schematics all built out. You need to for how sophisticated it is. I subscribe to that. They're not throwing it all together.
Well, check this out. The Great Pyramid, if you calculating by the size of the base and the size of the stones, you can calculate the time 365 days in a year. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the moon. You can calculate the distance from the Earth to the sun. You can calculate the speed of the Earth around the sun, the speed of the Earth on its axis, the speed of the sun around the Milky Way galaxy, and the speed of the Milky Way galaxy around the local cluster, all from the Great Pyramid mathematics. So how in the world did that fit in with the rolling logs, the water, or the mud ramp? We're talking about advanced technology, advanced beings that made that pyramid as a time capsule of incredible knowledge. A star map even is built into it to tell us who was here in the ancient past and who did it and how. When you take all the temples that are around the pyramid and the other two pyramids that are next to it, and you look at it from the sky looking down, and you connect them, you get an inner planet system of our solar system. You get the sun in the middle, you get Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. So you get the interplanetary solar system from Giza looking straight down. And what's incredible is when you take the NASA interplanetary solar map and you overlay it on that diagram, it matches down to the millimeter. Was NASA around back then?
No.
I'm just asking for a friend.
Yeah.
So obviously they knew what the hell they were doing. And also the distance from the sun to the earth and to all these other planets by the astronomical unit, which is in astrophysics. How did they get that? The Grand Gallery leading up to the King's Chamber, the longitude is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second.
Really?
Meters didn't exist back then.
You're telling that like stared tunnel that goes there? Really?
Yeah, the location is the exact digits of the speed of light in meters per second. But then you look at the pyramid, it was sitting on top of an aquifer. The aquifer is dry now because the Nile is gone, the war happened and everything else. But when you have running water underneath magnetized crystal granite, you get physiostatic electricity. Those ions push up into the Grand Gallery. Some of the water comes up and goes down into the Queen's Chamber. I'll talk about that in a second. The energy from those ions moves up into the King's Chamber. It stepped up. Well, before it had to have that little box there. The box was added, by the way. Before that box was there, it had the capability of creating fusion and sending electricity through the apex. When the pyramid was broken, the structure was broken, they added that box. That box is the same exact dimensions as the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the
box
Covenant
you're talking about is that like tomb-like structure?
That rose granite box that's inside, yeah.
Yeah, how would they even get that in there?
Yeah, they added it later on. How to get, a lot of the stuff I think they teleported or manifested.